Steve Williams here, co-host Seth Barnes, lead tour guide. Iditarod veteran. How's it going, Seth?
Not too bad. Beautiful day here in Alaska. How's everything with you? You look mighty toasty.
Pretty good. I'm out here on the East Coast right now. It's cold. It's March, but it's cold. We got a bunch of hail yesterday, actually.
Oh, it's been a weird winter.
Yeah. I mean, talking weather, it sounds like it's going to be warm for the start tomorrow. And even in the interior, doesn't look like it's going to be all that cold. I was looking at temps in McGrath and Nikolai and the finish in Nome in the 20s with sun. It seems, is that potentially less ideal for what people want to run in?
Everybody's got their thing. I feel it's easier for a dog to adapt going to cold weather versus warm weather. Definitely, I think it would favor the teams with shorter hairs and that have trained either more miles in the summer or more miles in hot weather. Definitely a huge factor, but weather for the Iditarod is kind of whatever they warn you about. By the time you get there, it's changed anyway, so why worry?
Yeah, you really plan for it, right?
Yeah, just the biggest thing for me anytime is just hope it doesn't rain. That turns into a miserable thing for the mushers.
Yeah, is that just running with wet boots all the time and then freezing up on that, and then
yeah, it just makes everything
points
wet and sloggy and miserable. And it slows your team down. Definitely 30-degree weather is definitely going to slow teams down. I wouldn't look for a fast race this year, and they claim ideal dog temperatures 0 to 10 below. Or I always felt that. So definitely not a fast race. I don't look at record-breaking speeds this year. Just trail gets soft, slows teams down.
Yeah, looking at the calendar now, I think based on years previous, with how the weather is going to be, if it is actually going to be warm, it doesn't change to cooling down towards the end, and teams really putting in some good times towards the finish. I bet people can expect that sort of typical early Wednesday morning finish out in Nome on like the 16th, or maybe even a little later. I don't think we're going to have one of those Mitch Seavey runs where it ends, Tuesday in the afternoon.
It would be surprising if anybody finishes under 9 days for me.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be a slow race. And I think it's going to favor power teams because of the slog. So it'd be interesting how people train for this. If anybody specifically trained for a warmer weather race,
right?
Some may not have had an option being down in Willow or Wasilla or something where it's been warm pretty much all year.
Yeah, exactly. I think, for those teams, it's probably definitely an advantage, at least for the start, because like we said, who knows what the interior is going to look like, but it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And then speaking of kind of sudden changes, I guess the big news coming up out this last week with Nick contracting COVID and Jeff having to run his team. I would imagine that's quite the whirlwind for Jeff, thinking he was done racing there and then jumping back into it.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. I don't know Jeff and Nick's relationship. By any chance, Jeff is an amazing dog breeder, amazing dog trainer. One would think if Jeff wanted to be racing, he's got an amazing dog team he owns.
Right, exactly.
For him to run somebody like Nick's team, I mean, Jeff's a dog, man. You could give him anybody's team and he'll probably beat you with your own team if he wants to. Yep. I don't think Jeff is going to try to be competitive and try to win. But who knows? He may. He's definitely got the knowledge, and he's proven he can do it 4 other times. So why not this time?
I mean,
it's got to be very difficult for Nick. Very difficult for Nick. I reached out and tried to make a phone call to him. It's really busy. I really didn't expect him to answer the phone, but yeah, I would like to know how it feels with him. Maybe I'll reach back out and try to get it once this race starts off. Maybe we can get him on here, but Yeah, that's going to be an interesting loop in it. To see Jeff back on the trail. I really enjoy watching Jeff when I was racing, to being on the trail with him and just seeing how he does things. He's just so efficient and so good at what he does.
Yep. And I imagine it might be a little bit of a challenge for him. You know, like you said, he owns all his own dogs, and, you know, running a team that's not his could be kind of
Yeah.
a challenge, as he says. Let's see what I can do with a bunch of dogs I don't necessarily know as well as I know my own team, and see what we can do out there. Because, you know, Nick's always got a pretty fast team. He's always
Yeah.
right up there. I mean, a couple years ago, before they kind of bogged down, he was making strong moves to win the thing. And that's why it's sad to see him not be able to race this year, because he's always pushing towards the top, and it'd be nice to see him cross that finish line at first, but it'll be interesting to see what Jeff can do with a team like that.
Well, if one thing Jeff has proven from the time he was running the Quest in, you know, the late 80s all the way up to his last runs, even when it wasn't super competitive, I guess super competitive somebody, and he finishes 10th and it's just a joy run for him. But he knows how to adapt, and he knows how to run different styles. Any style out there, I think Jeff's tried to run it, you know, and are experimented with it. And as of late, Jeff's been running a lot like Nick has. Fast between checkpoints, fast run times, keeping speed up. And so Jeff's on the surface an ideal candidate for Nick's team in a way. Is Jeff going to try to compete? That's a huge question. He might. I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff is leaving Unically, knocking on the door to coming in the top 10.
Yep.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, now I think it would be kind of, as we're sitting here talking about it, it'd be fun to see Jeff win it with Nick's team. Nick gets to feel some of that, you know, accomplishment with his dogs crossing the finish line in first there. That'd be a cool story.
If anybody's would be a shock to the world, it'd be Jeff, you know, coming back, not even signed up for a race with somebody else's dogs. But like I said, Jeff's the type of person that can race your dog team and beat you with it.
Yep. And I think leading kind of into that sort of mindset, you know, when you were running these races, you were always running someone else's team, correct?
Yes. I never owned a dog team. So,
yep. And is there like a strategy beforehand that you go in with, or are you just trying to have like a solid, efficient run where you feel good and the dogs feel good, and you're just happy with crossing the finish line where you finish? Or did you go out there with like, I want to be top 20 or anything like that?
Definitely when I was racing for Mitch, it was never about me finishing in a place. I hate to say hired or jockeyed a team, but there's definitely a point. And that race plan starts almost a year before that. And for the owner, when the puppies are born, that race plan pretty much starts. But it starts way back in the fall. And it was definitely training a dog team, not me running to be competitive in any means. And I always try to maximize that plan inside those limits. You know, Mitch wasn't wanting me to take a 2-year-old puppy team and go try to finish in the top 10 of a Iditarod. That wasn't the thing. When I raced for Wade, it was a little bit, we came up with a game plan to finish in a certain time, and with a goal to try to finish in the top 20. And we made a race plan for it. But definitely, even if you're a rookie and your goal is to just finish, you have a race plan. If that race plan says 10 days, 11 days, 12 days, me being the person I am, I would want to try to feel that, try to limit mistakes and try to enjoy it. That's the big thing. It's hard to enjoy a race.
Right.
When you're trying to Dallas, you know, I'm not saying Dallas doesn't enjoy what he does. He wouldn't be doing it if he didn't. But it's hard. It's a different type of enjoyment to sit back and run a 12-day race and look at the stars versus trying to run and be right at the front. The biggest thing there is sleep. You get more sleep if you're in the back.
Yep. absolutely. As we were just talking before this, how sleep kind of affects you and the lack of sleep everyone's getting out there on the trail. And after, I don't know, 9, 10, 11 days, by the time you cross that finish line, I bet you a warm bed and Nome is all you're looking forward to.
Yeah, hot shower and a warm bed and a good meal.
Yep.
It,
With strategy, we were talking a little before about, what teams out there are probably looking to have a good race and, hopefully finish in that top 5, top 10 range. I feel like there's a lot of good teams running this year. So it'll be interesting to see what that top 10 kind of shakes out and looks like. I feel like there's always someone in the top 10 who people didn't necessarily expect to be up there. It's from like a spectator viewpoint. I'm sure the person running who finished in that top 10 was like, I obviously believed we could have done something like this. But do you have any, thoughts on who you think might be in
well,
that upper echelon?
yeah, anybody who's won the race has figured the recipe out, so to say. It wasn't an accident they won. So anybody who's ever won this race, and if you look back of there's more multiple people who've won it multiple times than people who haven't, almost,
Yep.
So Dallas and Mitch, Yor and Pete are right up there.
Mhm.
Jeff, the long shot this year would be Jeff. Just because he's coming back out of nowhere with somebody else's team. But besides those people who have won it, Richie Deal, he's driving a good team. Aaron Burmeister saying that this might be his last Iditarod, finishing second last year.
Mhm.
He's sitting on a little bit of a monster team. Brent Sass, in everybody's things. I mean, he's driving an amazing dog team again this year.
Yep.
He finished third last year. A little bit longer shots. Travis didn't have a great year last year, but he's proven he can be right up there.
Absolutely.
Mealy, she finished fifth last year.
I think so.
So Ryan Reddington's another name. And that would be kind of cool to see a Reddington win the 50th anniversary. Ramey Smith, I mean, not that he's been super competitive over the last few years, but that's a second place finisher who has really pushed it. And the Smith boys are known to close fast in a race.
Well, he's that safety to Nome time for him.
Yeah,
He's always pushing top of the leaderboard there for his.
I tell you something. If you want to see the world's greatest runners in snow, I'd like to see Dallas and Ramey on a foot race between.
That would be great.
Neither one of them's going to quit. I know that they'll have their running shoes on. But outside of that, I mean, you do have some long shots like Paige. She didn't have an outstanding year last year, but her and Cody both ran teams decently fast. And if you cut that down to one team, that may be a very dangerous team. I know I probably missed somebody in that little rundown, and I apologize if I did.
Yeah, just looking at previous winners, Martin's still out there running. He hasn't been super competitive the last couple of years. I'm interested to see in what his race looks like this year, if he's either got a similar approach or, it was kind of cool seeing him. Was it last year or the year before, usher along kind of all those mushers who were getting trapped down with weather and things like that, and they ended up all finishing in Nome, the 9 of them at relatively the same time. It was cool to see him kind of be the leader there in that grouping. Jesse Holmes had a good rookie year, and then I think the last couple of years hasn't gotten back to there, but I feel like he could be a long shot. Matt Hall runs a good race.
He's got experience enough to, definitely. I don't know what Matt Failer's got behind him. He's very capable of going in the top 10. Somebody who's never finished in the top 10 is capable, I think, this year also. Jeff Dieter. He's slowly been climbing. I wouldn't say slowly, but, I think he finished 15, 19, and last year he was like 12.
Yep.
He could go in. As far as winning, very few people have ever won this race that haven't finished in the top 10 before. In fact, probably 20, 30, I know all the way back, I'm thinking it's probably 40 years since somebody's won that, or maybe even longer, that somebody's won who hasn't finished in the top 10 before, which is
I didn't know that.
saying something, you know?
Yeah, right, exactly. That bit of experience finishing at the top goes a long way towards finishing first later down the road. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the race as a whole shakes out, whether it's weather, the different storylines along it and sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to following along there.
Yeah, anything can happen. And, being in that, I always said being in that consistent top 5 or right around there always puts you with a chance to win. I mean, it wasn't the Diderot, but it was the Yukon Quest when Dallas won it. I mean, I think he was sitting 4th or 5th, 2 checkpoints left, and 1 and 2 fell off in a storm up a summit. And I think he was 4th at the time, and it came back to a foot race between him and another musher. I honestly don't think he, probably 2 days from the finish, thought he had a chance of winning, and then all of a sudden he's sitting in first place.
Right.
Or what happened to Dallas again, put him in a good position when Jeff had his problems coming into safety a few years back, and Allie did too. And then next thing you know, he's coming into Nome and doesn't even hardly realize he's winning.
Thinks he's in 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's, anything can happen. I mean, it is a dog race.
And then, of course, today we've got the ceremonial start. Downtown Anchorage is always a zoo. On the day like today, you've got 1,000 dogs barking, all the teams getting geared up. What's that like as someone who's about to run the race? And like, what is the day of and the preparation look like? Even the night before, do you have like a ritual meal or something you really want to hit on or things like that?
I wasn't really big in that. My biggest thing is preparing the human body. The dogs are prepared or they're not. There's nothing you can change that. Make sure they're well fed and make sure they're well taken care of. I always came with usually one go-to person that, you're staying in a hotel if you're from out of town. If you're from near town, Willow or Wasilla, or you can kind of drive home. You might have a host family there in Anchorage, but it's a little different. My ritual was basically after the banquet on Thursday, try to stay away from everybody on Friday. I usually made 1 or 2 public appearances, but try to stay away from everybody. Make sure you're well taken care of yourself. Everything's in order, race plan, all that kind of thing. And then Saturday morning, go down there, enjoy that, especially if it's your first year or rookie year. Enjoy it. Really, as a fan or a musher, just enjoy what you're seeing, because it is. It's a cool thing. And I always said, and I was warned by veteran mushers when I ran my rookie years, don't take it all in and enjoy it, but don't let it get to you. Don't think because you kind of do feel like a superstar in a way. Somebody that's been in the middle of the woods for the last 3 months training a dog team, all of a sudden there's people coming up to you wanting autographs. Why do you want my autograph? I'm a nobody, but I get it. I came to this race as a fan myself, and I can remember the first start of a Diderot I went to. I mean, I was like a kid in a candy store, oh my God, what is going on? And like you said, it's pretty much a 4-block, 6-block area, depending on how many teams are there, with 1,000 dogs, all barking at one time, people everywhere, things going on. And honestly, the start of that race is kind of amazing. It actually happens. Like,
sure.
It just flows. It really does. And I got to give hands off to the volunteers at Iditarod for making that flow happen. I've never been behind the scenes as far as the organization and the planning of that Anchorage start. That's got to be a massive logistical nightmare. I really give it off to those volunteers in some paid positions, but mostly volunteers for getting all that down the trail. And I've seen loose dogs. I've seen people who, it's kind of fun. Honestly, if anybody ever gets a chance to do it, I would definitely go see the start in Anchorage. It's the only time you can really see the teams run, to be honest with you. It's a remote race. So
Yeah, and even just like you said, the volunteers being able to put on, especially in downtown Anchorage, all the logistics and operational awareness that needs to go in to put on an event like that obviously takes, months to plan. But and every year I've gone, there have never been, I would imagine there's hiccups behind the scenes that as a spectator you don't know about, but I've never seen like a hiccup show and like, oh, we're going to delayed start or do anything like that. They always have it, they're always on the ball with stuff like that, and it's impressive, and they do a hell of a job getting it all together for the mushers, the teams, and the fans as well, because it's quite the spectacle watching them go down the street there
wow.
and start.
I've seen mushers. I've gotten the phone call. Luckily, it was never me. But the phone call, oh my God, I left my gang line, 100 miles away.
Sure.
I forgot my harnesses, but there's enough mushers around. You can get by for a ceremonial start. And it's probably a good lesson that you don't forget that stuff at the real start. Because if something happens at the ceremonial starts, you can get by. You better have your ducks in a row when you leave Lake Willow, because once you leave, I mean, race rules, no outside assistance, no planned outside assistance. So when you leave that starting line in Willow, if you don't have something with you, good luck trying to get it.
Yep.
You have a pocket knife and a tree, you better make it.
Yeah. I've had someone when I was out in McGrath, I had a musher, flag me down and say, can you go to the AC store? And I don't know if he needed like headphones or something, but he lost them on the trail. He was like, I really need these to race. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go down and grab them for you. He's like, thanks. I really appreciate that. Because
I can't remember what it was. I was in Hoosley at one time and asked for something simple. I think it was a lighter or something like that. And the guy, didn't have one. He said, but the store, I can go get one. I think it was just a normal Bic lighter. I think I paid about $10 for it, but I mean, you need one to cook for your dogs. Yep. But yeah, it's not an easy thing to acquire anything of necessity out in some of these villages. And it's kind of great though, to go through those villages and see those communities like that, because I know they've changed a lot through the decades and in the centuries, but definitely it's not comfortable living in a city where you can just go down to the nearest corner and buy whatever you want. Yep. Versus if you don't have it, good luck.
Yeah, and you're at the the whims of Mother Nature too, because 3 or 4 day storm roll through, planes aren't coming in, like reduces supplies at all these, your local grocery store, the AC that kind of has everything there. So
that the COVID thing again strikes this year, and it really sad that one of my favorite things is the interactions with those villagers, with those people that live out there, seeing a piece of the culture that you can't see, on pavement, so to say. And a lot of those communities have almost closed down again this year. So that's kind of sad in a way. This sport wouldn't be here without those native communities who it was a lifestyle, because it was a mode of transportation, and the only mode of transportation for the winter, pretty much. The history from that, it's kind of sad to see again this year, but hopefully we're done with this thing, this beast in the room. Maybe this is the last year. I think we said that last year too. So,
and like you said, going to those checkpoint villages is what makes the race special. And from being there and all the help they provide to, the mushers and the operations of the race, whether it's providing water and things, and, the checkpoint areas and things like that. It doesn't go on the help from all those villages and, aiding and putting it all together. So hopefully next year, places like Takatna will be back on the map for musher to stop through. I know that's a popular place for them.
I know in 15 when I ran it, it's the first time the race had gone through Husleo, had severe ice and snow problems going the traditional route. It started out of Fairbanks that year. And I remember pulling into Husley and like, I don't know, it was 2, 3, 4 in the morning. It was 50, 60 below. I mean, it was not something that you would see. School had been canceled because the Iditarod was coming through. It's the first time it ever came in. Husley, for anybody that doesn't know, has a long, long, long mushing history with some really great mushers coming out of there. Seeing a school age, young school age kids just running around at 2 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, how are y'all outside in this? It's cold, man. And they're barely wearing anything in my mind, but they live there,
Mm-hmm.
But it was a world in the hospitality of providing water and the community, potluck style food provided and all. And it was a lot to that community for that race to come through there. And I really, man, if one village out there, I would love to just go spend a week in Husley just to see that. And that's really, really sad that especially rookies who may never run this race again don't get to see and don't get to experience.
Yep.
And also for the villagers too. I mean, I know some of those villagers, they looked forward as kids coming through. I mean, I've seen Allie and come through Unicolete and, there's 200-300 kids out there. And not just kids, but the local community people out there watching her come through or watching whoever the race leader is come through. It's a big deal for them. And I guess they can watch it from a distance on the bank, but that's not the same thing. That's what the Iditarod's different, than most sports. You can't go up there and almost bump shoulders with Tom Brady in a building during the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Rushing, guess what? You can,
You have a coffee, warm up with whoever's in, the top 10 or top 20 or whatever it is as they're going down the trail and sitting in the point.
If you want to know what mushers snore, just go to Unicolete. The rooms are, right there. You can hear them.
And if you do make it to Unicolete, I hope it's still open. Peace on earth. Fantastic pizza.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There, yep. I know they sometimes run pizza down to the mushers. They want it, but the pizza's
Yeah,
there.
I remember one year when I came through there, I was about, I don't know, half day or day behind, but, pizza that's been sitting on a table for a day is still really good pizza compared to the pizza that I haven't had in a week. And Matt Failer had a fan club order like 3 or 4 pizzas for him. And I think he blew the checkpoint that year. Nobody knows race strategy. I sat down, probably ate half a pizza that year. So I really appreciated that one.
I bet.
That became the trend, is people ordering pizzas for mushers coming through, which was, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool thing.
Seth, I think that kind of wraps it up for, a little pre-race primer there. You got anything else on your mind before, everybody starts tomorrow down in Willow?
No, this time of year makes me itch. This is for the guys and girls in this race this year. They've worked hard winter, no matter who you are, from Mitch or Dallas or Pete Kaiser to all the way to, the rookie who's has no desire to try to win this year. They've all trained hard. They've all had obstacles to overcome. Everything's on the line for this one thing, the Super Bowl of dog mushing. And it's stressful, but once you leave the starting line, it's pure enjoyment. And I get that itch and just want to do it. I don't not necessarily want all the hard work necessarily leading up to that. But it's all worth it. And I wish COVID wasn't around. So the things that are, but are happening. But yeah, that's definitely, I envy those guys right now. I'm just like Jeff. If somebody called me right now, I don't even know if I'd pack my winter gear. I might go down there without boots and be in my slippers almost,
The trail.
Yeah, I know last year Wade Mars had called me a few times, and he was kind of worried a little bit about the COVID thing. If I get COVID, what to do? And I'm like, I'll go take a test. You may take a test, you know.
I mean,
Yeah, sign me up. But that's a cheap way to do it. And I would never want to do that. And I know Jeff, if he had to wish it upon it, he wouldn't want this, you know. We didn't mention kind of with Jeff, sorry to drag along here a little bit, but you know, not just a few years ago, Jeff was in the reversal role. He had a medical emergency days before the start. And it was somebody who was familiar with the dogs who had helped him train, I believe, but he turned the team over and let them run the team. And now it's reversed. So that's kind of a cool aspect.
yeah, and I'm trying to think of who ran his team that year.
It wasn't Underwood, was it?
It might have been.
I
Yep.
can't
Or
remember.
Sean, yeah. Yep, just now. Yeah, Sean ran his team.
I don't know who helped Nick train this year, or if anybody. Nick's
Well,
Nick's
he's up in Big Lake now, and is that where Jeff is usually?
No, Jeff usually trains a lot on the Denali Highway. He owns property up there near Cantwell. And
Gotcha.
his main, you know, his tour operation and his house and everything are up there in beautiful country. Yeah, Jeff's like all those guys that have done it for so long. I don't know all of them, but what I mean is like Bill Cotter. Bill Cotter still runs dogs, you know. You know, and a lot of these guys, they can't get away from it. They can't. Yeah. I mean, Dean Osmar down there in the Kenai Peninsula still got dogs, still runs dogs. It's a lifestyle that you love doing. I mean, I only own 3 dogs right now, but I'll hook them up a couple of times a week and run a couple of miles with them, and
sure,
still get the same enjoyment out of it. Just don't get it for 10 days. I get it for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think overall it's more of a, you know, lifestyle choice than people being in it for the money or anything like that. I feel like it can be twisted that it's, you know, racing for dollars, where it's a lifestyle, and I think it's showing off that lifestyle and what it can be, and I think how it's beneficial for, you know, the mushers and the dogs themselves. So
definitely 50 years of this race. I don't think anybody who helped start this race 50 years ago would ever think it would become anything near this. And still less than 1,000 people have ever finished.
It's impressive. Maybe we'll try to catch up in a couple of days.
Have you been exercising your clicker finger? Refresh on the tracker?
I have not, but I think me and everyone else who's not out there is going to be refreshing in the middle of the night, depending on what time zone you're in, to see who's where doing what sort of thing. But maybe we can catch up in, you know, a couple days, talk about where teams are, what the checkpoints are like. If you got any questions, let us know. You can shoot us an email. You can shoot one to me. I'm just Steve@redlanterntourco.com. You can check out our website, which is just redlanterntourco.com. Ask us any questions. If you got any, we'll try to answer them on the next show. Seth is a wealth of knowledge.
Stay tuned and look forward to watching this race. As everyone, it's a dog race. So hope to bring lots of excitement, lots of fun.
Yep. Well, cool. Thanks, Seth. We'll see you in a bit. Appreciate it.